You're listening to episode 317 of the Major Issues podcast, and holy multiverse, Batman, we're here to cover Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. The Major Issues podcast starts right now! Hello everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
What up everybody, it's John Escudero here, aka Yogi.
Yogi is here. It's been some time. I'm glad I have you here with me because we are tackling quite a story here today. One adapted several times, but finally adapted in animation in a two-part series, but we've only got part one so far. A three-part series. This is a three-part series. Yeah. That makes way more sense now.
That explains some things.
yes, it definitely does. We are here to tackle Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1, which just came out, less than a month ago, I would say?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, depending on if you waited for digital or physical. Yeah, and release dates now.
I think it's so interesting, right? We just covered season 2 of Marvel's What If. That's their, multiverse trotting adventure of sorts. We're busting open the Multiverse Saga with all the things that are supposed to be happening in Deadpool 3, the things that we've seen happen in Spider-Man 3, No Way Home, etc. and so forth. But DC kind of built this game, didn't they?
Oh yeah, with stories like this, before Crisis on Infinite Earths, every year they did a crossover of the multiverse. They were called Crisis stories. DC basically set this table.
Yes,
yeah, for sure.
While they were doing this, while they were setting that table, Marvel was setting the action figures table with Secret Wars. That's what they were doing on their side, where they were like, "We're gonna do a crossover too," but. Just for the toys.
Cheap plug, though, if you want to dig more into the original story, George and I took a good couple of hours to break that down. Excellent episode we did ourselves in the archives. Go check that out.
I was in the shower getting PTSD. I was like, towers and shadow monsters. And I was like, we definitely covered this in depth, and we did. We did cover not only the comic book adaptation, but I believe we even covered
the CW.
Yes. CW, yeah, the CW verse. So now you're with me tied because once I got like super deep into comics, I got my heart broken twice, realizing how butchered the adaptations of Dark Phoenix Saga were in various different forms, in films twice, which is rare. But I would say the X-Men animated series probably got us the best version of that. Now, this is a very different story before we get into full spoilers. But before we get into all of what this story entails, I guess I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel like DC's been handling these adaptations of Crisis, and what do you think, if anything, they're missing?
Crisis on Infinite Earths is a big one. And first, I guess I should preface this by saying it's one of my favorite stories. Like, I love Crisis on Infinite Earths so much. It's so dense, it's so full of exposition,
right.
And some of that I feel like doesn't translate to television and film as well as you would like it to.
Right.
So that's why I was actually really excited when I saw that the animated version was gonna use the Flash as like a grounded POV of the Crisis. Of course, it didn't go the way I thought it was gonna go, but when I thought that was what they were gonna do, I was like, oh, this is a good idea.
Right.
And then they went a different way. But that being said, I after this, after I originally heard they were going to do a fucking animated trilogy of the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I said, well,
Right.
damn, if there was ever any room to adapt that story as close as possible, it would be across 4 hours, right? Because if each
Right.
one's an hour and a half, it's about 4.5 hours. Or
Yeah.
yeah, 4.5 hours. So I thought, like, man, this should be 1-to-1. Like,
Right.
this
Right.
could be great. And they were like, no, we have our own version of our own Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like, an
Yeah.
Anti-Monitor came here tomorrow. Tomorrow. An Anti-Monitor came to this multiverse and did something.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. Well then. Well, I mean, now that I understand that, I guess we'll see what happens.
Right. Were you surprised at all that they were doing this in the Tomorrowverse? I mean, this universe basically kind of
No,
just started
no.
in 2020.
I was surprised that
And
they were already doing this for sure. That they
right.
are already doing fucking Crisis on Infinite Earths, basically um, ending this multiverse, whatever they want to call it, but dense corporate wise, because James Gunn is in charge of DC now, and they're going to be shifting their strategies. So even the
Right.
people that created, I think even the producers of this trilogy were saying, like, they knew that this was going to be the end because of corporate shifting, and they don't even know what's going to happen next with DC animation.
Right. Do you have a lot of fondness for the Tomorrowverse?
No. It's all right.
It's
I
rough,
don't.
right? It's a little rough. It's a little rough. It's a little
I
rough
don't
because
know how to. It it was well intended. I mean, they tried, and but it feels like they got their budget cut on animated films, and
right.
these Tomorrowverse movies, they look cheap to me, and they feel cheap. And there were some moments in this one that were like, "There's no fucking way they left that in." Looking as cheap as that looks, but I don't
I'm
know
like,
if
there's no need
maybe
for that pause unless they're not in the room together, and
like
you have to
that's
press
missing. Like I'm
call
fairly
and
certain that's
response.
yeah. Like I'm probably missing frames. Like this,
Right. Right.
but I think because I was really fond of the last. I was fond of the last New 52-ish universe they
Yeah.
did, and when they ended it, I thought it was. I thought it was bold. I know a lot of people. I think people hate it. I don't know how they feel about. I've never how people feel about the Tomorrowverse movies. I've never cared. I mean, Tomorrowverse. Well, any DC animated films, actually. I don't know which ones are
Right.
acclaimed and which ones people hate. Genuinely, it's a fresh
Well,
feeling for me.
like I always think of my journey with those animated films starting with Red Hood.
Yeah.
That's what screams to me. Is like that was one of the first animated films that I had seen, and
Wow.
DC was going through some great. I mean, obviously, like besides like Phantasm, I saw Sub Zero, right? Like
Sub
Batman
Zero.
Sub-Zero.
Sub Zero was like my first real DC movie. Like
We
a
gotta cover
cartoon
Sub
that I
Zero, bro.
watched over and over and over again. I watched that so many times, over and over and over and over and over again. It was like
Yeah.
my shit. But particularly that universe that started with Justice League War and ended with Justice League Dark Apocalypse,
Which was
like
metal as hell. Like that whole ending was like
crazy.
I'm like what?
But it's
But it's gonna
insane
go
that.
out, go that
So
way.
I actually really like, because it's very comic books and it's very DC, that they were like, we're gonna end this universe because they're doing something else corporately. So like somebody thought, like, what if we actually end this fucking universe, right? Like we end the universe and then reset it. And
Yeah.
that's how the next movie universe happens. And that's really cool because it didn't just end and then the next universe started and then we acted like, it was gone. Like there were
Right.
consequences. There were actual, like, that wasn't over. Like that happened and fucking reset the whole fucking universe. And we had a whole new universe of movies, literally, corporately and in canon.
Right.
And it still had consequences that tie back to the end of the previous connected films universe. I like that. I like things like that.
Yeah. Because even if it's gonna be some kind of corporate mandate, you can still weave some creative threads.
And
So that
as
everything
they
still
do,
makes sense.
It's
Yeah.
comics. That happens all the time in comic books, and that's why I really I respect that they did that, and I appreciate it. You weave in and out of you weave around editorial. You know, like you do what you can do to tie things in, and maybe sometimes they catch it, stop you, and other times they don't. You know, they don't even know what's going on. Did you watch? Did you watch much all the Tomorrowverse movies?
Not all of them. I think I saw Superman Man of Tomorrow. I saw the World War II one where Flash ends up in World War II, meets Wonder Woman. There's 8 of these.
Was it confirmed in that movie that was Earth 2? Did we know that?
I want to say I know it was definitely another Earth. I don't know if he would have had the mind state to give it a number.
Now, as in Crisis, I think they spelled it out. Like, oh, that was Earth 2. But and I mean, and it felt like it. It looked like it. You know.
So it is Man of Tomorrow,
yeah,
which I've seen. Justice Society World War II, which I've seen.
Yeah.
Batman the Long Halloween Parts 1 and 2, which I've seen.
And we've covered. Go check that out.
Yep. Green Lantern Beware My Power, which I believe we also covered.
If you did, I wasn't on that. I'm not a fan of that. No. I'm not a fan of that movie.
Legion of Superheroes, which I definitely didn't see.
That's pretty good. Supergirl movie.
Justice League War World. That's so hard for me to say. Yes, Justice League War World was the last thing, and that was supposed to be what the ending of this was too. Which because I didn't see World, I was like,
oh no,
is that like Pirate Batman, Caveman Batman? What are we doing here?
It was an interesting movie, and it definitely it absolutely just is a prequel to just Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths film, but it's strange because it doesn't tell you what it is. Now that I've seen it, I can describe it as a sort of not analog, I apologize, anthology film that kind of tells you 3 different stories, period piece stories with Batman, one with Superman, and one with Wonder Woman in different periods of time. But at the end, it turns out that you don't know what the fuck is going on when you're watching this. You're like, why are we here? Like, what are we doing? Why is Batman teaming up with Warlord? Like, nobody even knows who the Warlord is. This is crazy. Like, what are we doing? Right. Holy shit. And then it turns out that they're all on war worlds and they're having their minds fucked with by white Martians who have John tied up. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, it's the Mongol turns up for the last 9 minutes. It's a fucking disappointment, honestly. But there's a scene in that movie where Bruce is trapped in that weird time period, and he sees a vision of a ghost, and the ghost says, Bruce, and he doesn't know. He's like, what the fuck? What is that? And that shows up in Crisis, and it is meant to not tie, but I guess adapt that part of the comics where Barry was showing up in kind of the peripheral issues of comic books leading into Crisis, as a shadow. So I thought, like, did they try like little things like that? I was just caught off guard by how not like how
Crisis. How not Crisis it is.
Yeah,
it's so interesting because, like, I feel like half of this film you could have called it anything, and I think it still works. I think I'm still entertained by it. It can get a little bit difficult to follow because Flash is a time traveler, and in this he doesn't specifically seem to know or have control over where he's going at certain points in time. So it was hard to take notes because I literally had to come up with a Speed Force trip is what I would call whenever he would go into the Speed Force and see all those circles and stuff like that.
So getting into, talking about that mechanic and the way they used it, and being someone who read the book, we went over it extensively. Did you think that was Barry at the end of the story? Because I thought that's what this was. I thought that this was, at the end of the original story when he runs around the fucking thing, the cosmic tuning fork. I don't know what it is. What is it called?
Yeah, the tuning fork. Yeah,
is it? That's very strange. So he runs around the cosmic tuning fork, and then he appears at different moments in time because he's dying. I thought that's what this was, and it made. And I understood the movie because I thought that's what this was until we find out that it wasn't. I was like, oh,
Right. Because I
oh,
thought they were doing the whole like he becomes the lightning thing. Because
yeah, I thought this was Crisis. Yeah.
he says the Speed Force will be done with you when it chooses to be done with you or something like that. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, cyclical nature, ACDC. We're going back
Yeah,
to we're closing the loop kind of stuff. And then it was like, oh no, we're not doing that. So then wait, and then I had a bunch of more questions. Let me get the homework out of the way. So, Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 is an American animated superhero film based on the DC Comics superhero team, the Justice League, based on the DC Comics storyline Crisis on Infinite Earths from 1985 to 1986 by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. The film is directed by James Wamester from a script by Jim Craig. It is the 8th installment in the Tomorrowverse, sharing its continuity with the films of the franchise that began with Superman Man of Tomorrow, and it is the first part of a trilogy of films. Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 was released on January 9th, 2024, with 2 sequels scheduled to be released throughout the rest of the year. The film was dedicated to comic artist legend George Perez, who died on May 6th, 2022. Rest in peace. We're supposed to still be getting Creature Commandos this year, huh?
Yes, that's what they said.
Do you think the idea is to finish this before that?
I don't think that is meant to replace this universe. I just think that they're going to shift their entire strategy on how they release movies and things like that. So they're probably going to either start a new universe or not go back to connected films. They might just go back to I would prefer that they go and start adapting stories 1-to-1 in fucking animation. Like I'm saying, and I know like it's like, oh no, it's just this elitist thing, but no, man, before the Justice League War thing, right? They like you mentioned Doom. Doom was the shit. Red Hood, you mentioned under the Red Hood. They had things like that. It was under the Red Hood. You had Doom, and the only problem back then was like, well, they won't let them go past the 75-minute limit, so they had to cut a lot of stuff out. But I appreciated that effort more than going through all the effort of sticking this in the universe. So like a Monkey Paw, we got the extra time. They're willing to give these movies 2 parts and 3 parts. They did Death of Superman again. Remember, originally the Death of Superman movie was like, oh my God, they're adapting the cartoon, but I mean, they're adapting the comic, but it's only 75 minutes, and they had to cut too much shit out, way too much shit out. So now they're going to do 2 parts, the death and the return. That's perfect. That's exactly what you, wait, what are you doing? Stop right there. We have the space, but now they're putting all their effort into fitting it into the continuity of the universe.
Right.
Fuck my life.
It does come off as strange because I even spoke about this as far as covering some of these stories, right? I always had the like the thing that stuck in the back of my mind is like, okay, so if we cover, I don't know, a Metal, do we have to cover like Son of Batman before that, right? To introduce who Damian Wayne is. Now it's way less on us as like reviewers of comics and stuff, but DC seems to have been in the business for quite some time of just picking books off up the shelf without realizing where they land in the mainline continuity as far as the timeline, and their significance. This was definitely that. Like we're watching a Crisis movie in which the Justice League becomes the Justice League in it, right? So like, where's the stakes for the team that just became a team?
It's insane.
You know, like you can't just shuffle those things around. And they did this a little bit of this in the movies, and that's why people are always like, well, even when Marvel does it sometimes, people are like, you can't do that story. You can't, like, you're telling a story called the Titanic. I'm going to expect the iceberg. The iceberg is is intrinsic with the Titanic. So when you do Venom and there's no Spider-Man, I'm like, you've messed up the formula of this cake, and now it's going to taste terrible. You know, you have all the ingredients of the cake. You know, I recognize them. Like, oh yeah, I know that. But you put them in the wrong order. So now it's like this weird pudding.
Swinging around naked. No spider on his chest. Fucking disgusting.
Right. It's ridiculous. So it feels weird. Like, Crisis felt like the ultimate ending for the Arrowverse. At that point, that had been going on 8 years, several different spin-offs and shows. So you cared about the characters, you cared about, even alternate worlds because you had been introduced to alternate worlds before. I liked in this that they played a little bit around with that, like, where other characters might live, other characters we may recognize in the vast multiverse of DC animation. But like, it would be super cool if like the Titans popped up in this, it'd be super cool. Like the Titans popped up in this, and maybe even the Teen Titans Go people popped up in this.
I expect that down the line. Like one of the things that the CW adaptation did, they paid a little more respect to the source material, I think. And I don't mean that like, oh, they're disrespecting it by making this movie. I just mean that while they did fit it into their continuity, they did try to hit more of the major plot marks of Crisis on Infinite Earths than I feel this did. I thought they pulled the concept of Crisis and they decided to take the idea of Crisis and fit it into their world. And it's like, well, that's a damn disappointment. But getting that out of the way, I guess, like if I put that aside, because I mean, I guess that's a bias because I already have an emotional attachment to the original story. But objectively, I just think spending 45% of the movie of Crisis on Infinite Earths telling a Justice League origin story is like objectively a fucking it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Yeah. It's absolute bullshit. Even if it was entertaining, even if it wasn't like structurally bad, even if the Mazo thing came around in the end, I just think like fuck. This is
I thought they had a pretty compelling little Amazo story on their hands too.
It was interesting.
I was sitting here like, huh? Well, and I was like, oh wait, really cool. This is Crisis. I was like, wait, we're about to get into the Crisis. Oh snap! Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm just glad they didn't do no Paragons in this. I could have done without the Paragons of hope and love.
But I think that's what weren't they? There were Paragons. But it wasn't like that.
I don't think that they were like chosen though.
Yeah, I think it was just everybody that they called. I think everybody that the Monitor called into the thing was like, "This is who we need." I don't even remember if they called them Paragons. They were just the dudes.
I don't think so.
This is our army.
These are the dudes. It's crazy because I remember like a lot of This is a random aside. I remember a lot of Dr. Light being in this, the female Dr. Light.
Yeah.
She's in the film as well. But then like you were just talking about like we were just talking about Secret Wars, and they just made Monica look like Dr. Light after a while. Like they just grabbed up that whole thing and they're like, oh yeah, this is how she looks now. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that works. I guess we have a bunch to get into. So let's get into Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. But first, we cover a lot here on ComicBookClique and on the Major Issues podcast. And if you find yourself exhausted with the sheer amount of comic book media out there to watch, review, and cover, boy, do I know the feeling. I've got good news, though. You don't need the Speed Force to scour the multiverse for a pick-me-up, thanks to the brilliant people over at Magic Mind. Say goodbye to your normal gallon of coffee per day and say hello to this little green elixir made of the finest ingredients to improve awareness, mood, and overall energy. I started taking Magic Mind alongside my cup of coffee each morning, and I have seen drastic improvements in my focus and sleep, and I want you to reap the same benefits that I have. Coffee jitters are a thing of the past, as Magic Mind makes me more productive and more focused. I get more done in less time thanks to the organic ingredients and the nootropics inside that improve attention, concentration, and cognition. Look, I wouldn't even be able to say words like that without Magic Mind. The ashwagandha, that doesn't come from Wakanda, in it reduces stress and anxiety, which lets me drift off into a peaceful sleep each night after kicking butt making content. And I feel like I'm in a whole new gear with this stuff. Like I said, to stay up to read, to stay up to cover, to take notes for this stuff, I'm usually chugging along, just cups and cups of coffee, and then I can't get to bed because I'm all, up, I'm all jittery, I'm all nervous. I have all this anxiety. Now I only need 1 cup of coffee. I take my little magic mind with me to work, and it works. And that's why I stand behind this stuff, because it does work. It helps me, and I know it can help anyone else who struggles with balancing their energy levels on a day-to-day basis. The best part is the people over at Magic Mind are making it easier for our listeners to get in on the trend. If you visit www.magicmind.com/JAN major issues, you can get 1 month free when you're subscribing for 3 months. So that's a 33% off discount just for being a listener of the Major Issues podcast. You see that, people? It always pays off. So go to www.magicmind.com/JAN major issues to get 1 month free when you're subscribing for 3 months. Those links will be in the show's description. Go ahead and grab you up some Magic Mind, because as we all know, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. But speaking of waste, now our story begins with Barry Allen's The Flash running through the Speed Force and witnessing various Earths being destroyed. Oh, by the way, if I have any of this wrong, correct me, because this is all just my perception of what I'm seeing on the screen. Yeah. So if anything is wrong, just chime in. He awakens in his lab and decides to go to his local diner to chat with his crush, Iris West, who works there. He asks her on a date, but notices a strange elderly man demanding he get up. Suddenly, he's dressed in his Flash attire and is in the midst of battle against a relentless android. Luckily, he isn't alone, as Superman manages to save him from danger. Things aren't what they seem, though, as Barry somehow knows that the android is named Amazo. The android shows the ability to steal the powers of metahumans, but Flash saves the Man of Steel before he can be eliminated. Even with his super speed, Amazo has Flash on the ropes until the cavalry arrives in the form of Green Arrow. He gets the metas away from the destruction, and Superman pleads for them to take him to Wayne Manor, but the other two don't know why. So, yeah, I thought this was a pretty cool and what do you call it? Like energetic beginning. No real big crawl. We're just kind of thrust into this. But I guess like one of the things I had a question of is like, even when Barry goes to the diner, he's aware that he's been to the future, correct?
He's aware.
Is it like dream? It's like dream status where like this. He's getting like weird deja vu.
You can imagine, like, because because I guess to completely comprehend it, you kind of have to find an origin point for this Barry to understand how much he knows.
True.
Right?
This is also true.
So
yes.
The way I saw it is that his origin point is that moment towards the almost the end of the film where he freezes time.
Yes.
And he lives in that moment with Iris. And then eventually he does do this. He does spin around and do that shit. So I feel like that's the origin Barry, that moment where he froze time. So everything up to that point, he has a passing knowledge of. He just doesn't realize at the beginning of this film, he doesn't know where that knowledge is coming from. He's in a dream state, basically, almost, except that it's not a dream because he's a speedster. And what would be a dream state to us is an actual moment that he traveled back to by accident while doing whatever he's doing at that origin point. That's how I comprehended it.
What's interesting? Although they're two completely different interpretations of it, I always did like how the CW and even the Flash film depicted him running through time, like literally running through moments passing him by, years, decades, and stuff like that passing him by, which I thought was really interesting in this. I also expected Green Arrow to be Batman, but I'm glad Green Arrow's here. He definitely brings a comedic tone to all this, especially considering he has no superpowers. Yeah,
it was a lot more Green Arrow than I forgot. I'm used to seeing. I forgot that we can see the real, more comic Oliver on screen.
I always think of him yelling at Diggle, "You were on drugs when you were the Green Arrow."
Yeah, bro. You killed your brother. Your best friend? Your best friend? Why did you say that? Why did you say that?
I made us these best friend cups. What are you doing? Suddenly, Barry is running through the Speed Force again, but this time awakens to find himself in conversation with Iris, who's asking what flowers they should have for their wedding reception. Barry tells her that they had irises on every table, showing he has knowledge of the future, and she scolds him for not being present. They come across a homeless man who warns Barry that all the worlds are ending before placing his hand on him. Suddenly, Barry's in the Speed Force again, and he wakes up in his home with Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson at the door. Did you have any sort of clue as to who this gentleman was touching people on the head?
Yeah, I think I figured that. I went out pretty fast.
Really?
Because
I was out of it. I'm like,
there's a movie that leaves him. There's a whole Constantine movie. And
it's not of this, huh? Interesting.
It's connected to both the Tomorrowverse and the other. I don't know what they call that one.
It was they had one like City of something, or wasn't it?
Yeah, I forgot the name of it, honestly. But essentially, he's the pariah character. Like, there's no pariah. The pariah is Constantine here, and it's because of what he did at, it's because he convinced Barry to reset the fucking universe.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he's an ass. You remember he told Barry, like, you did this. You messed up our world. You got all these Justice Leaguers killed and turned into robots. So you should reset things.
Because he was canon to that other universe.
Yes, it's that Constantine.
That's way better.
Isn't that cool? Like, he's serving the consequence of creating this 8 movie universe.
And he straight up says it. He straight up says it.
And Barry's got the guilt too for being the person who I flash pointed and fucking tried to do it again.
I love that. He's like trying to explain all this to Barry, or the Spectre is, I think, at one point trying to explain all this to Barry, and Barry's like old and dying. He's like, I don't know what. Yeah. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, old man in the green underwear. Can we just go home? What's all this about? I don't remember
any of this shit. Yeah, I just get me back to Iris. Or is this done? Is she not coming back?
Where is Iris? What did you think of? What do you think of Jason Eccles as Batman?
He's a good Batman. I think he's got a good Batman voice. I don't hear I don't hear the Red Hood, which is what I was scared of. I was like, oh no, I'm worried it's just gonna be Red Hood. But no, he put an effort into voice acting, and I appreciate that. It's not just Jason Eccles. Yeah. I don't know how to fucking pronounce his name. Eccles.
It's weird. He doesn't. I'm so used to Conroy that I feel like he's nailed the stoic nature, but I don't feel any warmth from his Batman at all.
No, he's cold. He's cold. He doesn't feel.
And maybe on purpose.
I don't feel connection to his Batman. Yeah. I guess he mentioned it. No.
What do you? No, say right now. What did you think about Bruce? He asked Barry for help putting Dick in an orphanage.
I thought that was funny. That's funny. I've seen a lot of that. Like, I don't remember what I was reading. It might have been the world's finest book I've been reading lately, but there's a moment before he has Dick where it's like, I don't know what I would do. Like, I don't know what I would do if I had a fucking kid. I'm not sure. Right. Hey, I can't imagine Bruce even ever thought he would do that. So that makes perfect sense that he's like, I don't put this shit in an orphanage or something. I don't know what to do with this thing. It's broken.
I do think it makes sense in all adaptations for him to be convinced.
Yeah. You got to.
I think if he just takes it upon himself unilaterally, it seems a little creepy.
It is also weird. Like, beyond the creepy part, it's like you looked at this child and you were like, perfect for war. Perfect for this war.
Right.
This violent war.
And that only serves half of your life.
Yeah. And I gotta raise it too.
So it reminds me, I think they did it really well in Lego Batman, where he's like, oh, he's still here? He's like, yes, you have to deal with him all the time. Like, every waking day, not just when you're Batman. Like, you have to find some stuff for his ass to do. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And yeah, I do think that he should be convinced. But Barry advises him to take him under his wing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Speed Force flashback to Superman in the Batcave from the Amazo attack. Bruce lets the other know that he's Batman and he knows who they are too. With his tech, he can deduce that this Amazo android has the ability to take and store the powers of metas and was made by Dr. Ivo, who has been reported missing. Bruce thinks that all of this is a distraction for something bigger. The next morning, the guys have coffee and Barry tells them that on another Earth, they formed a super team. Bruce loves the idea and recruits Vixen and Martian Manhunter to join their cause. Were you not digging Green Lantern, not joining Hal Jordan?
No, that's fine. I don't like how they treated Hal Jordan in this universe at all. So this was just an extension of that. Like, what the fuck did Hal do to somebody in this universe?
I'm just remembering Beware My Power.
Yeah. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck did Hal Jordan do to somebody? Like, somebody must really subscribe to the idea. Like, some people really, because some people don't know Hal Jordan. They just see him as this pastiche. He's like a fucking blonde
caricature of the green, a 1940s Green Lantern.
But he's got there's so much you can do with Hal Jordan. Like, I like John Stewart too. Don't get me wrong, he's very cool. But what the fuck? I hate it. So this was nothing compared to how I've already seen him treated in this universe. Like, okay, he doesn't join. Fine. Fuck you.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with skipping somebody in the legacy thing, but don't yada yada them. Don't yada yada. Also,
beyond yada yada, they did because the evil one. When he turns into Pariah, like, there was a moment in history, in DC history, where they did turn him evil. But even in that original story arc, he fucking decides to fly himself into the sun. Like, that's how much it overpowers him. This universe just turned him evil. And he wasn't even like he turned evil. He was just evil. Like, he was just an asshole. And then they kill him. And he's no chance for redemption. Like, he's just a dead villain. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, good thing the elderly man randomly appears while they're talking to the Green Lantern, and he places his hand on Barry's head, which causes him to go through another Speed Force trip where he ends up on Earth 3. Barry encounters his criminal doppelganger, Johnny Quick, and is captured by the Crime Syndicate, which is this Earth's Justice League, but evil. Do you remember the first time you met this Crime Syndicate?
Yes, it would have been Crisis on Two Earths, the animated movie.
Okay.
See, this is how crucial these things are. We need to get back to these movies that are just animated, not connected to nothing. We're just telling the damn story, man. We need to get back to that bread and butter. That was my first experience with the Crime Syndicate. James Woods is Owlman.
He's a good Owlman.
He's a great Owlman. The Nihilist.
Right.
Actually, this version of the Crime Syndicate was pretty. I really like this.
They sort of nailed it. My Crime Syndicate, I've seen the film that you were talking about. I vaguely remember them being one of the Earths destroyed in the actual book.
Yeah, they were the first. It was very similar to this. Like, they actually recreated, they adapted that part, the death of the Crime Syndicate, really well.
Yeah. But when I think of them, even though this wasn't my first time seeing them, I always think of Forever Evil. Like, I just think of them coming through and
you know what?
Kind of
cutting a swamp. You know, I don't hate that story. I'm not. It's not like the greatest story I've ever read, but I actually remember having fun with for all the New 52 of it. You know, like all of the New 52 things you can hate about New 52. I had fun with Forever Evil and Lex Luthor as trying to.
That's when you get B-Zero, right?
Yeah, B-Zero.
Come on, bro. That's so good. Right? It's so good.
Come on.
And then you had like the one shots. Like, I remember when Mantis like, he's dead. Forget all this. Like, forget life. Yeah. What is there to do? And I was like, that was pretty well done. I was like, I'm depressed. What's going on now?
So it was fun. I loved it. I thought it was fun. Very fun.
They held Dick Grayson in Town Square with roped up or whatever. They had some guys.
The Rogues when they jumped Johnny Quick. That was so awesome.
They froze his leg
off.
Yeah.
He's like, what's the difference between you and the Flash? he has respect for us, and he has two legs. He takes
Yeah.
that shit off.
So
Uh,
good. So good. So Speed Force trip. We are suddenly at a press conference unveiling the Justice League headquarters. Barry stumbles over announcing the team's new name, which I thought was pretty interesting because he met the Justice Society. So I think that's why he was quick to try to
I
almost call
like
them the
that.
Justice Society.
I like that he was inspired by the Justice Society to do a Justice League, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a nice little callback to how it actually goes.
Later
Yeah,
on, I like when he's talking to Iris. He's like, "I need to talk to you about the Flash." He's like, "Jay Garrick? Like, what are you?"
yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, clever, clever. Um, Boy, he gives the team their new name, the Justice League, when suddenly Amazo attacks. What do you think of this Amazo look? We've seen a couple of Amazos over the years.
It's weird. He
This
was
one here,
weird. Yeah, he was weird.
yeah.
I'm not. I know some people. Some people's Amazo is the Justice the animated series one, like the gold blob.
I call that one Tabula Rasa because I think that's the name of the episode, and
Yeah.
it means clean slate, which is just like he's just a gold thing.
He's like the easiest fucking thing
Yeah, he's
someone
just
just
like
designed. Imagine
yeah.
presenting that. This is my Amazo. Like, who the fuck said yes? That's crazy. No, my Amazo is the one that looks like a villain. You know, he's got like he looks
The one
like
that
a
looks like
bad.
a genie, you mean, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It doesn't make any sense at all, but that's just how I
Right.
like seeing him. As
I
long
now
as he's
have
not a
to
ship.
look. Okay, so I'm looking up the Amazo from the Arrowverse because I
The
completely
SS
forgot. He just
Amazo. It's a
looks like
ship, isn't it?
it is at first. It is at first, but he straight up shows up. They
Okay.
fight him in the Elseworlds thing. I remember because whatever superhero he had the power of, that crest would pop up on his chest before he did anything. But he just looks like a
Lazy,
skeletal like a cyborg thing.
lazy motherfuckers.
Yes. So yeah, there are several looks. This one looked like it tried to incorporate a little bit of the color scheme, the green and the yellow from the genie. I always think his ass is a genie. Genie Amazo. Um, boom, boom, boom. I like this part. Barry's like saving people. He's in the Speed Force saving people, and then like they start having a conversation because he's taking some of Barry's speed so they can
Yeah.
converse in the Speed Force. And Amazo doesn't seem like a killer robot. Doesn't seem like I've been programmed to destroy you all. Um, it actually explains that Ivo built him to enrich and preserve human life. So Barry's like, you're doing like the opposite. There's so many people dying because of what you're doing right now. And he he basically becomes a racist and he's like, I got new parameters and we don't consider metas humans. So they're good to
All right.
go. And I was like, oh, all right. And it is
Yeah,
revealed. Go ahead, brother.
I was gonna say, man, for what it's worth, this is it's a really good original story.
Yeah.
I think I really enjoy. I wish I would have been prepared for it to be like an original story. I feel like even the trailer hinted at more of a crisis than we got. So I wish I was more
Right.
prepared for it to be what it was. Because it was pretty good. I mean, the Maisel stuff wasn't bad. Like this wasn't a bad origin for the Justice League. There wasn't anything bad about it. Because I looked around too after I finished the movie. I was like, man, I feel really sour about this. And I look around at
Yeah.
everybody else. Everybody else like they love it. They love it. And I was like, I don't know how could you people like I hate you all. But I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
I get like it was pretty good, especially this stuff right here.
When you've read the rebirth for Detective Comics, you cannot enjoy Birds of Prey. Like you just can't.
Yeah.
It's like a physical. And there are people who do. And like there's a little bit of me that's jealous because they don't know where the top of that mountain goes.
Yeah.
So they're like, we did it. And I'm like, just this close. Like you could have went higher. You could have done more. In this, it feels like they can only move their characters so far, right? Like they got to get everybody staged for this crisis, regardless of whatever B storyline we're dealing with now with Amazo. Like
Yeah.
they have Batman and Superman have to be fast friends. Everyone has to know each other's secret identities. The team has to be a team outright, and it feels like a lot of this stuff is sort of being rushed so we can get them to a point where a lot of the other stuff then makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. 100%. And it suffered. This
but
first part suffered from that for me. But because of that, I think that now that, well, the way this movie ends actually took away like a huge plot point for the end of the crisis. I'm like, what the fuck? So,
oh
but I was gonna say, because we set everything up, I feel like now we can really get going with the crisis of it all. And
yeah,
I'm kind of hopeful for the rest of it. Especially, we'll talk about it later, but some stuff that we've heard about what's coming down the line.
okay, yeah. So it is revealed who's behind these new parameters, and it is Lex Luthor in a mech suit of his own. I kind of like the one where you see his head.
Yeah,
The mech suit where you see his head.
it's like, why can't
This
we just?
felt, yeah, this felt a little bit Full Metal Alchemist. I guess this is what this.
Someone was watching a lot of anime. They wanted a mecha.
Right.
They wanted a mecha thing.
Uh,
They got it, I guess.
This is my favorite part. The two of them beat up on the League, basically demolished them because whenever people try to get over on one, the other shows up, and Batman's like, "All right, there's enough time to do an airstrike," and everyone's like, "What?" He's like, "It's the only thing we could do." Flash will get away from there. He explodes, and they're like, "No, we're not doing a freaking airstrike, Batman." He's like, "It's the only way."
He's got the nuke in his hand. It's
Right.
the only way.
Remember, they joined this team up, I think, that day, like earlier that day.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Guys, it was a pleasure serving with you."
Why? Are you
Oh
always
my
this
God.
suicidal?
Who's gonna drop me off? You drove us here. Um, so he proposes an airstrike. He doesn't sense the vibes because they're like, "Nah, we're not doing that." The Flash searches for Professor Ivo, but ends up in a room overlooking the various infinite Earths before Speed Force tripping himself back to Earth 3 and is in the clutches of the crime syndicate in their Hall of Crime. They interrogate him, and once they learn he's from another Earth, they set their sights on multiversal domination to cure them of their boredom. I thought all of this was really, really interesting. I actually thought
Oh
it
my
was
god, I love
kind of
it.
cute. I thought it was kind of cute that Barry was like, "Wait, so you're evil and the government? How does that work?" And they all just start laughing.
That was the best. That was my favorite line in the whole film. How does that work? They just look at him and bust out. That's incredible. That's
Like,
a good clip that goes around. Like I'm gonna
yeah,
actually I'm gonna clip that. I'm gonna make that viral. Actually,
right, right. It's the part that spoke the most true to life, but they have like similar to the Justice League. I was just gonna say they have this gross tribute of all the people that they beat, and I'm like, well, the Justice League kind of sort of has that too. But in
they have
this
Lex's
universe,
head on the fucking
right,
spike.
no hair,
No, no baby Lex. No Alexander Luthor.
no gold
Ah,
suit, no
whatever.
gold suit. So no, but I do like this idea that they're like, "Oh yeah, we've done everything. Wait, there's more worlds. We can do that to other worlds." It's totally what they would do in this instance. Um, I would have liked some kryptonite sniffing from Ultraman, though. That part always gets me.
Never
He just
forget.
crushes some kryptonite and snorts it. Uh, so Ultraman go. Oh, sorry. The homeless man shows up from before, and they recognize him as the one always talking about the end of the world. He shows a proclivity towards magic, and it's sort of kind of obvious at this point that this man is John Constantine.
Yeah.
Ultra, yeah. This is when I kind of was like, okay, yeah, I get it. I don't know why he's this way, and I don't know why he's on this earth. So I was just kind of like, okay, maybe he was the one to see it first or whatever. That little piece of lore, that block fits right exactly where it's supposed to. Ultraman goes to attack Constantine, but Barry's Speed Force trips him again into the day of his wedding with Iris West. He tries to tell his soon-to-be wife that he's the Flash, but nothing is making sense for either of them. Another Speed Force trip takes us into LexCorp, where Barry finds Professor Ivo. After discovering his disease of rapid aging, Ivo built Amazo in collaboration with Luthor. They created Amazo using alien tech at LexCorp to siphon metahuman abilities and regenerate the health of regular humans. Luthor double-crossed Ivo, so the professor is ready to help our heroes save the day. I thought that is an excellent plot to a movie on its own.
Yeah. What a great episode of Justice League. Another show.
Yeah. Billionaire Lex Luthor, tech billionaire Lex Luthor helps a man seemingly dying of a disease altruistically. Yeah, I use my alien tech, use my tech from here, use my money from there, build whatever you want. Ultimately, for him to build a Superman killing robot for him. And not only a Superman killing, because Superman is the top of the iceberg for Mr. Lex. He believes that humans under their own strength, humanity under its own strength, or maybe its own weakness, should rise up and be the dominant species. And with the existence of characters, people like Superman and metas out there, they threaten Homo sapien from being the dominant species in this. So I could, like, all of that lines up for me here. And the fact that he would lie to a dying man and then imprison him, all of that, like, really, really cool.
As you say this, and I keep thinking to myself, like, if they insist on creating this continuity, and all these movies have to be part of a continuity, and they want to tell a story, and everything has to fit into it, why the fuck don't we just have a Justice League show? Why isn't there just a Justice League animated series? Why aren't you just telling these stories in a regular serialized format? Like, why are you? What is wrong with? Why can't we just have a Justice League show? I don't name it Justice League of America or of the. I guess you can't call it that anymore. Justice League something, and just fucking tell the stories. It would be fine. Like, if this was an episode of some Justice League show, and it was like, and I knew going in, because it's a Justice League show, like, oh yeah, they're gonna do their version of Crisis. This is so cool. These things would have landed better. When you selling me Crisis on Infinite Earths 3-part animated film, you take the steam out of this otherwise enjoyable original story.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna get over it.
No, I think you're 100% right. Even the Amazo stuff happens. I literally paused it, and it literally happens right at the middle of this film when that storyline is over. And considering that half of that half is setting up a team and Barry's random time jumps, it's a very confusing utilization of the time that they were given. Which, like, and I was the one thinking that they had to wrap this up in the next one. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what they're about to do, but hey, they got all this off the ground. But three sounds like it's way better. But I like we'll get to it. Where is it? Boom, boom, boom. La la la. Wow. Speed Force. Okay. He's running with Ivo, but then all of a sudden he trips in the Speed Force again. Barry's back on Earth 3, and he witnesses the Earth under the threat of the antimatter wave. Constantine explains to Barry that he witnesses the parallel Earths being destroyed as his punishment, and that Barry shares the same guilt. We suddenly snap back to Barry and the League versus Amazo, where Barry arrives with the Professor. Amazo seems surprised that the Professor is even there, because he's only helping Luthor because Luthor said that they were collecting energy to keep the Professor alive. Instead, Ivo sacrifices himself, prompting Amazo to relinquish the absorbed powers and turn against Luthor. Batman deduces Luthor gave Ivo his disease to prompt his experiments in the first place. With Luthor apprehended, Amazo restores stolen abilities before shutting down after what I call an existential crisis.
That's always how they beat him, isn't it?
Yeah, but this one was like the saddest. I don't remember being this sad for a mate. So he's like, I I didn't do the one thing I was here to do.
And
And
he
then
fucking, yeah.
they try to give him the baby face talk. They're like, bro, what are you talking about? You saved us. And he goes, I only saved you from me. And I was like, damn. I was like, amazing. It's heartbroken. This heartbroken shit. And he's holding the dead body of. At one point, he goes, "Professor, are you okay?" And Barry goes, "He's dead." Like he has to explain to this android that his master, the only reason for him to exist, is now gone forever. And again, existential crisis. Because how do you explain that to an android? But yeah, there's emotion in this. There's betrayal in this. The whole stuff with Luther is in this. Again, an excellent episode of the Justice League television show if they were to have one. But they seem to only be stuck on like prestige 13 episode max stuff, right? Like even
Yeah.
the other stuff that we have greenlit or not.
Sad. It's honestly sad. I really, it's painful. I love DC. I feel like DC's at their best when they're just firing off content without
here's the thing,
about.
To me, they're at their best when they're at their most.
Yeah.
When they're just when they're firing on all cylinders and doing it all at the same time and not caring. And if they can find a way for it to connect, then that's fine. But DC has so many options, and they should present those options all the time at all times, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You don't like the Justice League movie? Go watch the Justice League animated show. You don't like Justice League animated? Go play the game.
Read the book.
Watch the cartoon.
Play the game.
All that. Yep. And get closer. You're gonna get closer to the properties anyway. These are all just entry points to the same place. So the more entryways you create, the more fans you end up circling in, because there's not everybody in the world knew who the Justice League were when they sat down and watched those cartoons.
That was my gateway. Batman the animated series, like the original DC animated universe, just adapting fucking little comics sometimes, and other times telling original stories. It was those little bits of fun made me want to dive into this world. Like 30 minutes wasn't enough. I need more. Yeah. I need to find out more about these people. I learned about all these characters on television through little shows like that. These movies, you lock them away behind these paywalls. Who the fuck is watching this? Just diehard fans.
Yeah. We're about 15 years removed from 100 years of like DC when you consider Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
We're 15 years removed of 100 years of this content. And so when they seem like that, when they like shrug and like, we don't have any stories to tell. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I was gonna say we're 15 years removed from Zatara too. Don't forget him.
Oh yeah. He's gosh,
that's
the
my
Phantom.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. Like it's always like Superman's gonna go into public domain and Batman's
gonna go into public domain. Zatara?
And I'm like, well, what are they gonna do with Zatara? Nobody gives a fuck. Get out of here. Okay.
I didn't know it was in the same issue. Actually,
the same exact issue.
Same exact.
Nobody cares about Zatara. God damn it! And about his hot daughter.
And was doing the backward stuff.
Yeah.
In issue 1.
Yep.
I don't even think some of Superman's lore is in issue 1. Look at that, Zatara. Some respect on your name, or whatever that is backwards.
You have one hot daughter by accident, everybody forgets you exist.
That's it. It's the pencil mustache. People didn't want him hanging out outside places. In that
Young Justice is the best utilization of him. He turns into Dr. Fate. That's
oh yes, brilliant. I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
Perfect.
And I said diving into lore already established to create new lore, which I think they are doing here. To their credit, I don't know how it's going to turn out.
It's fine. That's what I'm saying. Like it's fine. This content, telling serialized stories and telling a long form overarching shit is great. Why are we not doing this on television like normal on a linear network, like on Cartoon Network? Like what?
Right. Yeah, because you would say there's no central character of Crisis, right?
No, I mean Barry, if you wanted, they could have used him that way if they wanted to. But
Right.
overall, it's the DC multiverse is the main character. So there's not many character moments, but but the ones that there are like awesome. Like the Supergirl at the Barry
Yeah, yeah.
choice. There's some of the best character moments. But most time you're spent basically like I don't know how do you explain it? Like a toy
No, you
box.
said it. You said it well. Like I do believe that the stakes are the universe that you already grown to love.
Yeah.
So if you have not created that universe yet, what are the stakes?
I see.
You
That's
know?
why I thought at first I thought like it's a mistake that we're not tying in things that people already have a connection to. If you want to cheat, if you have to
Yeah,
cheat, if you have to create stakes and you have to cheat to get there, why not pull from things that people already are familiar with? And I thought like
yeah.
doing a multiverse thing, I felt like there was a perfect opportunity to do that. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's just too early. We just haven't got there yet. I see.
Yeah, if Teen Titans Go Starfire dies, like Supergirl dies, I'll shed a
That
tear.
is some wild shit.
You know what I'm saying? I would shed a tear, bro, if that
That
happened.
would be awesome. That
You know
would
what I'm
be
saying? Like
so
all of a sudden,
fucking cool.
you're like, damn, no, oh my god, you never. Yeah, I'm watching it. I'll be watching it, taking a sip of a beer with my niece. I'm like, do you know what happened to that woman? She's a hero.
That would drop my jaw. I would not be able to go to bed that night. Like I can't
Just do,
believe they did that.
just a stake. Like you got all these people, bro. Like it just, you know. Um, at Barry and Iris's wedding, a mysterious being known as Harbinger recruits various heroes for a space station mission directed by the Monitor. Barry agrees because he can sense he's done this before. Do they do much with Harbinger past this story?
I've never read her again. I
Right.
read a, I don't know. I have gaps. Like I have gaps, but I feel like I've read most of the major things.
But I
Most of
also
the
feel
things
like
that
if she did come back, you would know in one of those like what if Harbinger came back or like like one of those like I feel like it would be a thing. It would be like an event. Oh my god, Harbinger's back or something. I'm trying to look her up now.
I don't. I'm
That
sure she
outfit is
has been
ridiculous, man.
the one that she wears with the red
The
and
one
blue.
sleeved, the one
Yeah,
sleeved
yeah.
outfit with
It
the
was
with
the
the blue
80s. To be
gray.
fair, I think people would have worn that. I think somebody saw that in the 80s and said, "Slay, girl." I think they appreciated that fashion.
She's not Supergirl in the comic? I don't remember that.
No,
What
absolutely
is that
not.
about?
I don't know what the fuck. What are we doing? Like, what was that even about? Harbinger is Supergirl. What the fuck? I have
Very
no.
strange.
Yeah, nothing. I don't have a clue.
Okay, apparently Harbinger was a Black Lantern at one point. That's interesting.
Okay, well that makes sense in one of the spin-offs, right? I mean,
Yeah,
tie-ins.
yeah, yeah. Also, don't forget that Lila was Harbinger in the
That
CW verse.
that I'll never forget because when they did that, okay, I remember feeling like a conspiracy theorist. Like
Uh-huh.
Lyra, the Harbinger, is in season 1 of Arrow, and the season 1 fucking the season 1 episode 1 fucking Flash shows that crisis tease, and then I'm like, they're gonna tie the movies and the TV show, and it's gonna be awesome, and there's gonna be a movie where it's Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they failed me horribly. They failed me like a bad father. Like, I am so let down. I'll never forgive them for missing out on that. And they didn't believe in that. That's always studio bullshit. Could you
Yeah,
imagine if they had done that?
yeah.
DC fucking started the multiverse craze. Are you kidding me?
Well, that's why it's always been a bit weird because the stuff that we're seeing from Marvel, even when you go go by 5 years and go to Endgame, that's still handcuffed by not being able to have Fantastic Four, X-Men, Wolverine. Like they got all their characters. DC does it. I really don't understand what's stopping them from doing all the stuff that they do. Like all the stuff that crossover stuff that they do seems very creator
Uh, I'm
pushed.
gonna I'm gonna say
You know,
something
like
very I'm gonna say something very bleak.
Okay, go ahead.
And unfortunate, but very I feel very true. I think they wasted their time, and I don't think that they have the time they think they have to catch back up. I think that time is over. I think
Interesting.
I don't think that the public is at a place where they're going to allow for another
The
10
fourth retelling.
years of rebuilding and
Yeah.
setting things up. I think that studios like DC's disjointedness over the entire time Marvel was thriving. Over the Marvel hit their peak and now people are complaining about superhero movies. They combined with Sony putting out these bootleg Marvel movies and oversaturating the market. I don't know that people are going to give a chance to every DC film the way they would have 10 years ago. Like,
I really do. I agree with you in the sense that I do think that those three studios made it worse for each other. Like Fox, Sony, and Warner Brothers. They just kept making it worse for each other, like digging themselves into a little hole.
And I feel like 10 years ago, Blue Beetle would have came out and people would have treated it like gold. Like, that was awesome. Like, that was awesome. That was a fun film. I had
if Blue Beetle would have came out after Shazam 1, I think I would have popped
Fuck. And they missed their shot. I think they missed their shot. And I don't think they're ever going to have a chance to build back up to something like when they had the Arrowverse at its peak, going at the same time as the beginning of a film universe. You could have set up a whole ass DC thing. Like, DC's thing was the multiverse. They were so scared of confusing. And maybe we should just put Batman in suit. Maybe we should just start the Justice League right now. Like, fuck you. Right. I'll never get over this shit.
It's super interesting because, like, if you compare the Crisis ending in CW to like the ending of the Flash, where it's like, you know, they do their little homages or whatever in the, like, they do the more powerful money backed homages in the Flash, but in CW I'm like, oh wait, Doom Patrol's still around. Oh, that's the Stargirl universe, and we got freaking
Titans. Yeah,
I was like, oh, Titans are still around. They exist. They're still there. They're still out there. Just little, like I said, I think like there's a difference between like just like member berries, right, or you know, just off of recognition and literal rewards for going through this. And to be honest, I have always felt in the books, DC is incredibly rewarding for your patience and your like if you're willing to go with the character on a journey and see them through, you'll always remember those moments. You know,
somebody will.
Those characters. Somebody will.
Some writer will come and they will take this moment that you think only you remember. And they're going to turn it into a thing, and you're going to feel so rewarded. It's usually somebody like a Jeff Johns who read this obscure thing you did, and he took it and turned it into an event.
Right.
You know,
I sort of agree with you that it might be. It's so weird. I do agree with you that their time may have passed, but I really also feel like the only way that they could ever regain anything, you know, a semblance of that sort of momentum again is to act like you're not in competition. And I don't think they know how to do that.
Yeah. I think for my own entertainment, I think James Gunn as a leader would love to do that. I think that would be his ideal circumstance. They just let him make the movies no matter what. We're just gonna make them. That's it. We're putting them out. This is our universe. This is our plan. Don't look out the window. This is what we're doing. We set our expectations. We reach our expectations. But I don't know that the corporate world is going to allow it. I just don't know that. I really hope. I have the hope. I would love that. I would love for it to happen. I want James Gunn for his one. He said this is chapter 1, right, of his DC Universe 10-year plan. He's got a 10-year plan. I don't know that this thing is going to go to 2034. It's scary.
Not only that, what does the world do when 2 Batmen show up again?
I don't want to go into a. I don't. It'll really turn
If
into.
there's any place to do it, bro, it would be here.
It would be here. It would be here. But I have a feeling that just based on what we know about how the corporate world works, combined with what we know about which story he's going to be adapting, I think that they're going to introduce a Bruce and kill him.
Oh my God.
That's crazy, but I just don't see them allowing two Bruce Waynes to exist at the same time. I would love that because that's the way it should be. That's how it should be. It's the multiverse. If anything, they should meet sometime later. Like, it'd be cool. They shake each other's hand. It'll pop the shit out of me.
Gosh. That's the problem with doing these things too close to each other is the Titanic analog that I used from before. Every time you restart the X-Men, I'm gonna look at Jean Grey, right?
Yeah.
Because that bus is never late. Like that, she's gonna get possessed by some cosmic space entity, and then she is going to do a planetary genocide. Like that's just what happens with that character there. Batman, you're looking for the origin, and if you're past the origin, good luck. Wow, we've gone further with the character than most places. But then you're gonna wait for the Joker. And then all that again, like all that in the way that it happens. And it should sort of happen because it's so synonymous with his stories. But I'm so ready for them to get past first base here with some of this stuff. And to be honest, the last 15 years is their most honest effort to move past just Batman and Superman. To the point where these other characters are getting shows, are becoming household names. I wish they would have gave half the energy they gave to Harley on like a laundry list, of people. But I'm glad that she's a household name now as it stands. But yeah, it's hard because we came off of that incredibly promising animated run, and when things end that way, similar to how people felt about Endgame, like there's so many people that really honestly feel, and I'm not mad at them, that they got their ending. That they saw their heroes, they did what they did, and then we got to Endgame, and Endgame ended the way that did, and thus the story's over. Similarly, I didn't run to go watch Superman Man of Tomorrow because after Apocalypse War or whatever, I was like, oh, okay. Like I got it. Like, like my half of this story is done. My shared universe of characters is done. So there's no rush. I can get to that other universe whenever I want to. But then that also created a disconnect of sorts where I'm kind of just watching this story. I'm not necessarily invested in it. And it becomes, to use another sort of metaphor I've used on here before, it becomes me listening to the comedian tell a joke I heard before to see if they could tell it right.
Yeah.
And it's hard because Crisis is a rough joke to tell, but if you could nail it, if you could nail the delivery, the whole house goes down. But some people just know it's a good joke, so they just try to tell it. And so you kind of get stuck in this weird middle ground with it.
I ordered the chicken breast, and they gave me a chicken parmesan, and I was like, I appreciate the effort.
Yes.
But the thing I ordered is currently drowned in.
Sir, you don't understand that there's chicken breast in the chicken parmesan. I don't think you understand. And thus you've gotten exactly what you want.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why you're complaining.
And other people are like, no, this tastes great. And I'm like, I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
I ordered a chicken breast.
Right. That's all I wanted. Not only that, but like I ordered the chicken breast, and when I ordered it, I pointed to the picture of the chicken breast. So I know you have the chicken breast. I know you know how to make it. You've done it before. It's right here.
I know what's best for you, sir. Eat the chicken parmesan. Oh shit. Okay.
Oh gosh. Bro, I'm watching. This is another random aside. I'm watching True Detective season 3 because I wanted more of Mahershala Ali because I posted that clip of him throwing Turk off the roof in Daredevil, and so I wanted more of him. He is the star of season 3 of True Detective and playing his son, Ray Fisher.
Oh shit!
I was like, I have not seen you before, Mr. Man.
I wonder if he's ever gonna get work again. No, a non Zack Snyder related work.
I gotta find out when that season came out because I think that was like around the time he was still doing Justice League, probably because
Yeah, this is when he was still okay before he started speaking out against the wrong people.
Oh man. So the Monitor discloses the incoming threat of an anti-Monitor wave capable of annihilating the multiverse to the various crime fighters across the infinite Earths. What I liked about this is I thought he was going to come up and be like, I am the Monitor. But he came up and he was like, I am a Monitor.
Oh, you know what? I was like,
and I was like, huh, interesting.
I thought that was really interesting because that, it was the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor first, and then later on, I think it's Grant Morrison. I think it's Final Crisis where he does the 52 monitors thing.
Right.
And now somebody drew on that because I don't even know how it is right now. I wonder if they wrote that because that's what they got from the guidebook. And that would
be interesting.
That made me think.
Gosh, who's translating that book? Who's translating that? Who's translating that to the people who don't know it?
That's I wonder if I wonder if that is canon right now. Like, are there monitors? Oh shit! I gotta.
The last time I remember a Monitor being even referenced was at the end of Dark Knights. Not even Dark Knights Metal. Wait, which is the one where Joker and Batman team up?
It was. No, you're right. Metal. The end of. We're in a post-metal world, like, right? Because metal is like reset the entire, like, everybody died. Like, the DC universe is dead. For those that don't know what the fuck we're talking about because they watched the movie and they don't read comics.
But those episodes we covered both metal and death metal live here on the Matrix podcast, so you can go back and check those out.
Absolutely, we covered them in depth too, so you'll know what's going on. But you're absolutely right. That's the most and it was Nyx Uotan, right? And that's our Monitor.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, cool. I mean, shit, that's really cool. That's really cool that was a little thing they said there. Although it doesn't explain why all the other Monitors are not getting involved here.
not wilding the hell out right now. Yeah. Then that's another thing. Like, would the Guardians send Hal, right? If the universe is in danger, can he say no?
I mean, they would probably send everyone. They would try, but I mean, he would have to get invited here. But I mean, now I'm wondering if maybe he was just referring to the fact that there is an anti-Monitor.
Well, they say that I like that whole conversation later on where Batman's like, this thing seems to be like moving, like predicting our movements, and he's like, it's not like it's sentient. And I'm like, bro, you didn't even read Crisis on Infinite Earths, did you? But yeah, they sort of bring that up there too. And then boom. He explains the concept of the multiverse and demonstrates what the antimatter wave would do if it reached them, basically wipes them out. The heroes start to introduce themselves to one another. There's a bunch of little cute interactions. Do you have any favorites?
Yeah, no. Actually, this part of the movie, this is when it started. This is my this is my real favorite part. I felt like this is when we started to get into the meat, and this was like really cool because you saw characters from all over the multiverse, and it was like this is where I thought they were making at first. Before I had more context, where I thought like, oh, well, that's really interesting that they're adapting like an accurate DC multiverse rather than populating the multiverse with nostalgic characters. Like I was like, oh, like that's actually it's a little refreshing, but I thought like maybe they're making a mistake because they're already telling an original story. You might as well like go all the way with that nostalgia shit.
Right.
But this was really cool. You saw Earth 4 characters, so it's like Charlton. And they were still Charlton. It was still
straight up like old girl Nightshade looked like an older woman with just regular clothes on. I was like, I totally dig that. The Superman when Superman went to kiss Wonder Woman, I was like, wait, what? Did I miss something? And it was like, no, they're from another universe.
That was so cool though, because it's like I think that's Earth. So that Wonder Woman is the one that was in the War World movie, right?
Okay. No, I
So
didn't see the World War movie. I saw the World War II movie.
no, and it is her. It's her too.
Yeah, but I don't think Superman's in that.
No, because he's not, right? Because in World
No.
War II, he hadn't arrived on Earth yet, right? But
Right,
it's
right, right,
been
right.
60 years, and we meet her in War World again, and she's an older Wonder Woman, but she's still Wonder Woman because she's immortal, like you said, and she's
Okay.
met Superman already, and he's lived his whole
Interesting.
life, and he lost his Lois, and I thought that was really cool. Man, that was so
That's
cool.
interesting.
That was a really fucking cool moment that him and young Superman have that back and forth. Missed opportunity to not give him silver wings.
Right, right. I was wondering if they were going to establish that. If they were trying to establish that. Similarly, about trying to establish, I was wondering if they were just going to out and out say that Aquaman was the animated series one with the hook. But he was
they
like,
gave him an Earth. They gave him an Atlantis Earth.
Everyone's dead on his Earth. Yeah, everyone's dead.
Oh, my Earth is water, guys. I just water. And Aquaman from our Earth is like, I like that. And he's like, no, you fucking would. But that moment was cool. Also, the Batman moment. That might have been my favorite because it was Dick from Earth 2 and Helena Wayne. And it's comic Earth 2. The Dick Grayson that never becomes Nightwing. He grows up and becomes like an older Robin. And Bruce and Selina's daughter, Helena Wayne.
Helena Wayne is one of the oldest, multiversal characters, like popularity from another world. So it was really, really cool that she got a place in this.
Also, having to talk with this Earthworm Bruce that just doesn't know. He didn't even have a Robin yet. He was like, oh, yeah, shit.
And later on, when he's like, I'm going to die. I don't think I have anyone to call. He's like, screw it. I'm going to call the people who kind of know me.
So you guys said,
I'm going to go call my two best friends.
Just met you.
Yeah,
that was really cool. I thought that was a really nice moment. And this whole part, this was just really fucking. This was what I wanted to see. This is what I wanted the whole movie to be. This is this kind of shit right here.
They do they show us like a piece of technology on the ship that allows you to put on clothes or like put on a uniform of some sort, and that's how we get the female Dr. Light. She's imbued with the powers by Harbinger on task for the Monitor. I only bring that up because I love popping for comic book stuff because, again, iceberg, right? Some guy's acting shifty in the background. And I'm like, who the heck is that? And just acting shifty. Everyone's talking. Everyone's friends. Everyone's trying to come up with a way to stop this antimatter wave. But some guy's acting a bit shifty, looking around left and right, seeing who's listening to who. And he decides to walk up to the costume machine. And when he puts his hand in, it gives him a costume of a psycho pirate. And I was like, dun, dun, dun. That shoe always drops. I don't know when, what, or where. He was getting a bit of a headache at the end of this, but I thought the Psycho Pirate, like giving him his own little moment, his own little reveal before you know the ramifications of it all. Really, really good stuff in this.
For sure. I enjoyed that a lot. Like I said, this whole part was like, this is Crisis. All right, this is what I'm here for.
Oh, I mean, that must have been, it's another ingredient that you recognize. Like, oh, yeah, yep, he's here. Okay. I'm going to do a roll call in 10 minutes to see who's still here. But, and then we just see Earth 3 succumb to the antimatter wave. It's an extended scene, but it basically just amounts to them just being destroyed. And even in a world where what's become of it, they do find a way to make it look tragic. To make it look horrendous, to make it look like a force of nature.
I laughed so fucking hard when the crime syndicate flies over to their headquarters to stop the statue from falling, and it's like, they're saving people, but they're just trying to save their own headquarters, and they push it in the other direction and falls on all the people, and it kills them, and they don't give a fuck. That's not what I came to do.
I saw it, the second time taking my notes, and basically 2 buildings are falling both like inwardly into the middle where the statues are. So Ultraman is stopping one and Superwoman is stopping the other. Ultraman gets his um knocked over, because what he does is he knocks it completely over. It looks like he's trying to straighten it, but he just pushes it completely so it knocks over onto the other side. And that's when you realize, oh, he wasn't trying to save the building, he was trying to stop the building from falling on the statues. And then Superwoman drops her building and it lands on the statues, and the look that he gives her was like she just dropped something on the carpet, like he was so disgusted. But yeah, I thought that was really well done. I thought the idea of punching it was hilarious, but hey, they've punched reality before, so I was like, okay, it is what it is. But yeah, with all these new heroes all in one place, I love that there's a bit of dissension back with the Monitor, as some heroes debate whether to believe his story or not. And I love that the dissension starts with Vic Sage. I love that he's the conspiracy theorist. He's like, wait a minute. How do I know that any of this is right? How do I know that you're even telling the truth? Which starts the whole sort of train of doubt from other people. Do you think people should have bought this on the first try? I mean, he gave a hell of a speech, right?
I think they live in a world where you shouldn't trust it at face value, but also you shouldn't just dismiss it because these things tend to happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I dug the suspicion. I thought it was at least someone had to bring it up. Barry backs the Monitor. He's like, nope, he's telling the truth. I've been to other Earths. It's a whole thing. And they're like, okay, well, then we got to figure out what we're gonna do. I love that Hawkman's like there's nothing to punch. And they're like, it's a different kind of it's a different kind of war. And he's like, he yells at the Monitor, why would you bring warriors here if there's nothing for us to attack? And they're like, no, you got to like tackle this in a different way. So Batman creates a think tank consisting of intelligent people with experience using tech of all kinds, otherworldly, all that stuff.
I did think that Monitor was a bit of a dick, because like he brought all these people here and then made them figure out why. Batman has to figure out why. Oh,
he's also
we're not here to fight. We're a think tank. Like he could have just said that.
Right.
He could have just told them that off the back.
And
in the speech.
At no point is he offering help. At no point is he like saying like, well, I mean, did you guys think about this? Like, we've tried this and this doesn't work. He's literally sitting in his chair going, listen to these guys. The whole universe is about to get destroyed. They have no idea. They have no idea. So Barry's time traveling and multiverse hopping experiences inspire the creation of vibrational towers across Earth to evade the wave. And this goes back even as far as then, it had its place in metal, because that was supposed to be called Dark Crisis, I believe, is what you were saying.
And around the time yep. And then they took it and named it. They named the other one that. But
it's this idea of vibration, right? Vibration and music and
yeah.
I thought, really, really cool stuff.
We gotta do a Final Crisis. That's gonna be long, because we're gonna be trying to break that shit down.
Yeah, in regular speak and then Morrison speak. So yeah, because Barry says that he's obviously with the Speed Force. They've put two and two together. Speed Force, speed, vibrations. They can do vibrational towers that can help protect them from all this. Yep. So when is the moment where Barry freezes time?
It's it's as the wave, as the antimatter wave begins to destroy.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. Gotcha. It all connect. That was like the one piece that I had like a vague understanding of, but you just, okay. So I will leave that sentence there and move on to the next one, where it's gonna be where is it? So yeah, they're still working on Earth One's tower, but it ends up being too late. Batman starts to think that these waves are not just a force of nature, but are being controlled. Hint, hint, hint to the Anti-Monitor. Um, uh, is it Constantine who tells Barry to go to Iris? I think.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. He
because
gets
he knows.
involved at this point. Yeah, he gets more involved now. He's trying to
Yeah,
help.
he realizes that this world is seemingly done for. So he tells him to go to Iris. Iris basically is in tears, realizing the wave is like a couple feet away from them. It's been demolishing everything in its path. And so Flash uses flash time. If you watched the CW show, he freezes them in time in the Speed Force, or perceptibly going I guess so slow or so fast. I can't remember what that would actually. I don't know actual physics, but yeah, they're frozen in time basically, and they age, trapped in this moment, trapped in this apocalyptic moment. Barry, Iris, and Amazo finish completing Earth One's tower. And just as that happens, the elderly Iris passes away in Barry's arms. He activates the tower network in her honor, and is able to dissipate the Anti-Monitor wave, which leaves a few Earths left. The Spectre shows up and mocks the Monitor for not believing that the plan could work, which I thought was really funny. Like I want to think of him just showing up, and I mean he's God's wrath, his vengeance. Like I like when my gods have a bit of personality. Later, the Spectre appears in front of old Barry and claims that he faces responsibility for the crisis. Suddenly, Barry is sent back to the moment he gained his superpowers for the first time. So now I'm like, okay, I got it. Cyclical nature. We're all, he's become the lightning bolt. It is what it is. But then he appears as a vision to Batman on War World, as you were telling me. And old Barry advises going back to the beginning before perishing. Why does Barry want to go back to the beginning? In his perception, he just saved everybody, right?
Yeah. I think they were establishing that that's why he's Speed Force traveling through the whole movie. I think that was like, I think now that we say it out loud, that maybe that's the moment where he goes back in time. That's kind of what it sounds like. Though I actually don't remember that. I have to see this clip. I have to see this part again to get a full.
So he's old.
Of it.
He's still old Barry when he's doing this.
He puts on the suit. He's still old. He runs.
Oh
around.
no! Yeah. He runs around. He gives the energy, whatever. But then this is later. So after he dies. Or Iris dies and he does it and he dissipates the wave. He's on the ground, like his suit's all ripped up. I thought he was dead. And then the Spectre shows up and gives him that little speech. And then that's when he goes back to his origin and sees himself young.
And that's when he becomes a lightning.
Well,
that's what that was.
But then he goes to see Batman on World.
I thought it was just on his way there. He's just like Bruce.
As old Barry.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But they killed him. But essentially, like he died.
I thought he died. I thought he died. I took it as like because they did the whole thing. Like that's the arc, but they did it too early. Like there's so much story left. But you already did the Flash thing. He's supposed to end the crisis. He's not supposed to be a part of chapter 1. Wait, are they trying to tell us that he does not exist in the storyline in the
rest of
world?
The movie?
Yeah, in the universe that we now live in, Barry's sacrifice is just that's happened to.
I mean,
vis-a-vis the comics,
Body
becomes the Flash, etc., and so forth.
Yeah. Like I think that's the sacrifice moment, but like that's fucking trash. Because then they set it up. Like then the next movie we'll get the Supergirl moment. Like the fuck?
No, wait. But also, what beginning does Batman? Like, is that something he's gonna do later on? Like in the
No,
next movie?
I just thought that then he goes back to his origin point and we never see him again. Right? That's the last thing we see. Like he says, go
But
back to the beginning.
what happens with that Batman from War World? Is it this Batman? Is
He
it our
is, yeah,
Batman?
he's this Batman. He's Earth One
Oh,
Batman.
okay, okay. I thought he
He's
was
just
like
going
on
through
some
some shit.
other.
No, no, no,
Okay,
no,
okay,
no,
okay,
no. That's
okay,
Earth One Batman.
okay, okay, okay.
But yeah, but he says go to the beginning and then he goes to his origin point and then we cut back and he's dead. So I thought that was them doing he becomes the lightning thing, which is fine. But
Right.
like
Maybe they did the World cameo and they didn't really know how to tie it in, so then they had to come back
yeah, so
over
they
here.
just came back and they just did that, like, haha, look what we did.
Yeah.
It was this. But
Yeah.
it felt like a waste to me. Like we wasted the Flash sacrifice so that we have two parts of the story left to tell.
Yeah.
So it's I know they think to themselves like we're gonna catch the people who know the story off guard. Like fuck, get out of my face.
Do you think there's three major cliffhangers to this story?
I think you could do
You could do the
because now-
Spectre one, right? Spectre
well,
against
what we know now is that Kevin Conroy has a cameo as Batman from the animated series. And
right.
they didn't say it was a cameo. They said he recorded for the movie. So
He's
we don't know if
outright
it's
in
cameo or if he's outright in it. But he is in it. So we know that at some point the multiverse will extend as far as old shows and old animated series. Right? That was the original rumor. From years
Right.
and years and years and years, there was a rumor that there would be a trilogy, Crisis on Infinite Earths, animated film that brought together all the animated universes in a crisis. And
Bro, I never ended up seeing the movie, but I popped as hell when they did the Teen Titans tease at the end of Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
right?
I saw that movie in theaters, and then the post credit is, "Hey, can they still hear us? You know we're still here. And, you know we're coming." I was like, "What the hell are we doing? What are we doing out here?"
Yeah.
Just the idea of it, yeah.
It would be awesome if they showed up too, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm willing to give this a chance. I think what they could do, what they will do is this one ends the Flash, the second movie ends with Supergirl, the third movie is the Spectre and all the heroes of all the multiverse fighting the Anti-Monitor and then finishing the thing.
Yeah, because I didn't mention that part. On the space station, the heroes rejoice, but Harbinger, Supergirl notices historical changes as Legion of Superhero members disappear.
Oh my god, I
including
hate this.
her love, Brainiac 5. So now this is like Infinity War.
This is dumb. Not just that. That part, that part is cheesy as fuck. The whole thing about they fade away and everything. It's just like Infinity War. Fine, fucking bootleg Infinity War ending. But what I hate is this time aspect that this change somehow changed the future and shit. That's again, it goes against the whole like crisis thing that it's happening across all of space and time at the same time. So like it didn't change anything, it's just fucking everything up. Right. So I'm like, oh my god, it's just another one of those things that just rip me right out of the fucking story. I can't enjoy it because I'm so busy. Like fuck, I hate that.
Yeah, and they also can't make the Anti-Monitor like. Please don't make him like Piffy or like like. I'd rather him not speak. To be honest, if he needs those whale teeth.
For what it's worth, he's a bit chatty. In Crisis on Infinite Earths, he talks more than you think. He comes across like his design comes across like this big creature
stoic,
that says he's stoic, only talks when he has to, but he's quite braggadocious.
Like, let me tell you. Let me tell you something.
I'm glad that motherfucker's dead.
Well, so in the scheme of Iceberg,
Yeah.
which is not going to be a thing now here. You talk about the Titanic. I expect an
There's
iceberg.
just little bits of ice showing up in the water, and they
Will,
don't seem to be affecting the ship.
will any of these crisis stories lead to the Earth 2 Superman on the island forever until they're
If they
freed again?
wanted to do something crazy, like I'm a fan, so I have fan ideas. Like I
Yeah,
guess
yeah,
these
yeah,
things may not be possible due to whatever legal bullshit, suck my dick
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
but they could make that older Superman be a nostalgia Superman. If it was me,
That's true.
I do the animated series. I just
Oh, that would
age
be
him a
cool.
little bit. Years pass. One of the voices is still alive, right? One of the
Yeah,
versions of Superman is still
Tim
alive. It's
Daly.
not, yeah, because it's Tim Daly and it's the other one, and they both have like really similar Superman voices. I
Is
forgot
it
the
Burns?
no, it's Tim Daly and fuck, I'm gonna forget. It's fuck. This is fucked up. Greg is probably screaming it. Uh,
Yeah, and I just at one point, okay, that doesn't help me at all. It's okay. We got Tim Daly, George Newbern.
yeah, yeah. There we go. Yeah,
George
George Newbern.
Newbern.
But so I just think if you get one of these Superman voices to do TAS Superman, and he's the older one that sacrifices himself, it resonates more. It gives you the same feeling
Yeah,
that they had. Because the whole point is that it's the original Superman. It's not like it's called Earth 2 Superman, but essentially it's the one. That's
yeah.
1939 Superman. Him and Lois sacrificed themselves for the sake of the multiverse. That would be really cool if they used the animated series Superman in that place. And I remember on the CW, I thought they should have used Smallville in that
Ah, yeah,
place
that would make sense. Yep, yep.
because he was the one who started it all. He was the one who
Yeah,
started all the CW, but
but he never wanted to be a
he
superhero
didn't
for some
want to. He didn't
reason.
want to wear the suit. I hate.
They
Don't
can,
get me
matter of
started.
fact, matter of fact. Here's a hot take. I think what they did to Kevin Conroy in Crisis was worse than what they did to him in Suicide Squad. Kill Justice League.
They made him. They made him be a Batman v Superman parody.
A Batman v Superman Evil Kingdom Come Batman that still
Yeah.
had the sort of
I,
fucking
I thought they were wild as fuck for that. We get
I
to
had
see
to kill
Kevin
them. I killed
Conroy
them
be
all.
Batman in live action, and he's evil. I'm like, holy shit!
and then they kill him. I think like
Yeah,
I want to say Batgirl does like a roundhouse and she just kills Batman. So yeah, man. See, hopefully you guys live long enough to see your heroes die, come back, die again, come back as ridiculous AI generated 3D holograms. And then the director could say, but those effects were on purpose. And hopefully we all get to live and experience all of that. Is there anything else in their future that leads to anything that they could possibly be cooking up for this? I know
I,
they just released a second trailer, right?
yeah, and no date, which is
Okay,
weird. I was like, what the fuck?
interesting.
I guess it's spread. I mean, I imagine the way they usually release movies, it'll come out in May, and then the last one will come out in the fall, October or whatever. But this is no date. But the trailer for the second one is out, and it's got a really cool. It's got some really cool more crisis moments. Like I want to see some more multiverse stuff. That was a really cool Bat Family moment with like the
Yeah.
Earth 2 Dick and Helena and Terry McGinnis and Damian Wayne and Barbara Gordon.
Wait. Oh, snap.
I was like,
I can
oh
get into that.
shit. Like that's
May-
awesome. Very
I
cool.
wonder if Conroy's playing old Bruce.
I wonder if Will Friedle is playing
Terry.
Terry. I don't think Conroy is playing old Bruce. I think that I think the idea is they want to bring that Batman. Like I'm sure he's gonna show up in his most iconic design. Like they'll
So
probably hit
with
the
the blue
lightning.
with the blue stuff, I don't want that gray black Batman on the shirt.
I need the
New
yellow
adventures
logo.
of
Yeah,
yeah.
I need that yellow. Need that yellow's oval. Um Red Skies. That was another thing we didn't have. What is it?
Oh my
Even the
gosh.
CW respected Red Skies. How are there no Red Skies?
I was just about to say, I just realized that. What the fuck?
But that's like the
that is like the one
thing.
It's the storm clouds. It's how you know something's coming. Like
Red Skies. A crisis is coming.
Oh
my God, George, I'm so fucking hurt.
Maybe their first couple issues got stuck in the mail somewhere. They only got the middle ones. They were like, okay, wait, what? Flash dies? Okay, well, we write that Flash dies.
Write that down. Supergirl 2? What the? Write that down. You want to read?
Wait, did we introduce Supergirl? Yeah, okay. Introduce a Supergirl. Oh, what was that thing about the time that the time doesn't work in the thing either or something?
They were like in a bubble stuck or something like that.
She tried to throw a Pokeball or something and then it didn't work. And then they were like, well, don't you know time?
All her time friends are dead. No.
So the implication is that they've done something wrong.
Yeah. Or not that they that they've done something wrong. But again, that we're so far away from Crisis now that I'm just like, I don't know.
It could be you can't use the rules of Crisis to tell me what's gonna happen next.
Yeah,
but
because
given what they've told you, what does that translate to you?
It seems like they've changed history. They've merged their Earths, and it's not that they did something wrong. It's that they live in a new reality with a new continuity. And
did that not happen?
That was what they did with CW. That's how they handled CW.
Okay.
But that's also just Crisis. That's just what the purpose of the actual Crisis on Infinite Earths was to streamline.
It's consolidation.
Yeah, you streamline the multiverse. There's no reason on Earth to do that now, but they might be doing it as a plot point that they want to undo. Again, spits in the face of.
Do they have the balls to put the Infinite Earths in Crisis and then out of Crisis?
Yeah, I think I have.
Part 3 end with all the multiverse.
Yeah, like it's back.
Still breathing. We fixed
odd.
it all.
At least
they made us care about them all. So now they gotta bring them back.
Take me back to disconnected 75-minute movies. I think I looked up.
My tinfoil hat theory has always been, as soon as James Gunn said he had a 10-year plan for this, is that he's going to do Crisis. Do you buy that?
He should, if you know what's best for you. I think that being a film, you would have to. What I would do is combine elements of all three major Crisis stories.
You
would finish a movie that has elements of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, and Final Crisis, and it's just like the Crisis. You just call it Crisis, like film, DC, Crisis.
Okay, so you just have like Earth 2 Superman come and do the finger waving.
I don't know what kind of DC universe he's gonna create. It seems like he wants to create a populated, like the way I see James Gunn's universe. If I can paint a picture of it based off of what he's presented me, it's like I look up, I see a blue sky and many capes, and this is a populated DC universe where heroes live and it's normal. And so I don't know what kind of multiverse story he wants to tell. Like, I don't know if he needs to tell like a nostalgia multiverse story either. That's not what the fucking multiverse was about. Like, it was to see cool, different versions of the superheroes that you knew. There was a Superman with an afro, and I'm fairly certain he smokes weed. There's a Superman that looks like Barack Obama, and he's married to a Wonder Woman that looks like Beyonce. There's a Superman that is actually
Captain Carrot.
There's Captain Carrot. He is Superman, but he's a rabbit. He is a rabbit.
They better show up in this.
James Gunn fucking movies would be the perfect place for Captain Carrot to show up
and
stand alongside Superman. Get the fuck out of here. To show a Shazam, if he really wanted to bring Zachary Levi in for a cameo, he'd do it where Zachary Levi is an Earth 5 Shazam, in a crisis or some multiverse situation who stands
Yeah.
next to Superman as the Superman pastiche. That would
Yeah.
be an awesome fucking tribute to history, the way Shazam was originally supposed to be before the tournament, whatever he is now.
Yeah.
It'd be sick. I have all these ideas for what they could do, but I'm just a fan, and my ideas probably cost too much money or whatever.
It shouldn't. I mean, they have all the money in the world. They've now become all one streaming service, haven't they? Hasn't that happened yet? I feel
Not
like we're
yet,
around the
though.
corner.
It just happened with all the sports stuff, and that's insane.
Yeah, you see.
We'll
So
get there. We're getting there.
step by step. It's gonna happen. I was
Cable's
hearing
back, baby.
they need to get to whatever crossover they teased a while
Who's
ago. DC and Marvel.
That's never happening. Jeff Johns was
No,
just.
the people who wrote that are dead.
That was just Johns being like a hopeful. It's happened before. It'll happen again type of
Yeah.
thing.
You can literally say that, and it's like saying, "I know this month it will rain."
Yeah, like someday, and someday this will happen, but don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Pat your head.
Well, good thing we don't have to say someday around here. We'll be back here next week, and we'll always pat your head because it is going to be okay, depending on which Earth you're on when all this goes down. But yeah, we do this each and every week as a part of the Major Issues podcast. Talk about the latest and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. We just put up a new schedule of episodes. We're going to be tackling all kinds of stuff. Madam Web comes out in a week. That's gonna happen.
Sorry.
It's gonna happen to all of us. Oh, you're not gonna see. Well, you've actually have some on your list you've never seen, right? Still to this day.
Yeah.
Out of principle, standing on business.
Well, it's not like it's hard to find. It's not like I'm forcing myself not to. It'd be more if I wanted to, but I was like, no, I won't because I won't support it. But no, I just have no interest whatsoever. Now, Madam
We're not
Web,
running out of room with it playing.
I'll give Madam Web the fact that it has Sydney Sweeney in it.
Right.
That's about where that puts it ahead of pretty much every other Sony Spider movie, Spider-Man-less Spider film for me right now. That's
I'm pretty sure she's AI generated as well. I want to see that birth certificate. She popped up out of nowhere. I really want to see that. Is this what the metaverse was the whole time? Were we in the metaverse all along? I don't know, but what you guys know is that we'll be here each and every week as part of the Major Issues podcast, which is available wherever podcasts are found: Podbean, Stitcher, the Apple Podcast app, TuneFind, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Every podcast directory hosts the Major Issues podcast, so just use whichever one you're already using. Thank you for listening to this episode. All the episodes live over at ComicBookClique.com, the one stop for everything Comic Book Clique. Every episode of the Major Issues podcast, our articles, quickest way for us, quickest way for you guys to get to our merchandise. If you can hit that shop CBC link, and if you hit that support CBC link, it'll take you to our Patreon, patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse, where for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month, you can help us keep our lights on here and afford the hardware and the software we need to keep providing you guys content free of charge. Like I said, Major Issues comes out everywhere, including YouTube, but we also have a YouTube video series called Major Previews that just dropped its second episode, giving you guys some recommendations for February comics that you should pick up and some that I'm extremely interested in. Bro, there's like a hell themed Succession comic coming out of Image.
Oh shit, who's writing?
Someone I knew, and now I can't remember.
Well, if it interested you, then I have to imagine it was a good writer at least.
Yeah, and it was also something like the ruler of hell has to decide between his three bratty children which one gets the empire, and does he even want to give it up? And I'm like, this sounds
very cool. Sounds a little like actually reminds me of East to West a little bit, but
yeah, that's Snyder, right?
Jonathan Hickman.
Hickman.
The God.
The God. Oh yeah, man, he's getting his own universe. I can't wait to start covering. Here's one for free. One of the ones that I put on my major previews is Ultimate Black Panther #1, coming out this month.
Oh,
There's a lot
that's
of
right. That's right. I'm actually excited for that too. This whole Ultimate Universe, I will
it,
be reading.
Ra and Khonshu are teaming up to
Right?
take down the Black
What
Panther.
the
I'm like,
fuck?
what is going on? So,
Yeah.
so many good recommendations. So make sure you guys are checking out the major previews YouTube series, and you're following us on social media at facebook.com/comicbookclick, Instagram at comicbookclick, and you're using that hashtag comicbookclick to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. We're growing exponentially on social media, thanks to you guys liking, sharing, commenting. So keep all that going. Tell your friends to tell a friend. Like, share, and subscribe. You know all the jazz. Give us 5 stars on iTunes. It's the quickest way for us to grow as podcasters. Find out what you like and what you don't. Because I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest thing to come to comic books and comic book media. But I can't tell you how you do it, because then Dwayne Johnson will become a board member at your favorite company, and he will end up ruining things in ways that you could never imagine. And no one wants that to happen. So don't mess up time. Make sure that you're on all our social media. Become our friends. We need friends. But we're not the only ones cooking up some content over on this side. Yogi, tell them what you're up to over on the DirtSheet Radio side.
DirtSheet Radio, social media hub for pro wrestling fans to enjoy the world of pop culture. As well as you can find us streaming every single day about the latest pro wrestling shows. After every single major wrestling show on television, we have an immediate post show recap and review stream, because when the show's over, the hype is still there. You want to talk with some friends, but nobody else is watching wrestling with you. So what do? You hop over to DirtSheet Radio, you hang out with the guys, you jump in the chat, you harass them, you laugh at them, you talk shit with them, and you enjoy the company. That's
Yep.
Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and some Sundays.
When you initially said every day, I was like, that's not true. That is true. We do have wrestling on now every day. Oh my God, what kind of world do we live in? But yes, you can see why me and Yogi get along so well. We have all of this energy, good, bad, or indifferent, towards the things that we like and we're passionate in. And all we care about is dispersing that energy amongst like-minded people and getting some of that energy back. It's what really charges up things over here at Comic Book Clique and the Major Issues Podcast. So keep reaching out. Like I said, reach out to us on social media. We're going to put DirtSheet Radio's links in their link tree in the description of this episode, so you can get to all their links. They're killing it across the board over there. Go over there, then come back to us over here, then tell people from over there to come over here, and then tell people from over here to go over there.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, cross promote and cross pollute, whatever words people are using. I'm not too sure.
Cross promotion would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I dig it. Hey, bro. Dun dun dun. But but my name is George Serrano, aka the Don.
This is John Escudero, aka Yogi.
And this has been our Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 recap and review. And remember, whether you're an owl man, a monitor, a sight for sore eyes, or a harbinger of things to come, remember that we are the Clique. And always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.